In level 11 of a flash game called Red Ball, there exists a train that slowly moves from the left side of the level to the right. Red Ball starts in the back compartment, or caboose, of this train, and Red Ball must reach the first compartment of this train, which contains the flag, or goal, of the level. If Red Ball is too slow getting to the flag, the train will fall into the endless abyss, making the flag unobtainable and forcing a reset. There are many obstacles that will instantly kill Red Ball, including spikes, larger spikes, this spinning red bar, and these 3 spinners, or turbines. Red Ball is blocked from jumping and moving forward in the train for a large portion of the level, making it quite challenging to progress enough to reach the end in time. Because of how the level is set up, it has a very similar feel to an autoscroller. Wait, jump once, wait, jump twice, wait, jump a couple more times, and get the flag. You can't go any faster than the game allows. Though this level can be quite challenging for new players, once it has been mastered, it is really hard to mess up. From the dawn of Red Ball speedrunning to the present day, level 11 has looked seemingly identical in every single world record. The level is always finished shortly after the train exits this large patch of ground, and the level time is always right around 26 seconds. Even if some of these waiting areas were somehow skipped, Red Ball would still have to wait for the train to reach the end of the patch of ground before collecting the flag. For any large chunk of time save to be had, Red Ball would have to collect the flag before the first cart goes underground. But looking at a normal playthrough of the level, this looks far from being possible, right?
It's over. It's over, dude. It's over, dude!
In this video, we are going to explore the story of Sub 20 Train, the hardest strategy in the Red Ball series. When the 3-minute 30 barrier was broken in Red Ball, people began actively looking for new strategies that would enable the possibility of another 10-second barrier being broken, Sub 320. Though the train level had never had a single breakthrough in the entire history of the game, that didn't deter people from looking for ways to save time. On October 18th, 2018, RareXZC, the roommate and friend of RareEG, the second place runner at the time, announced that it was possible to skip 2 separate waiting periods in the train level, the first one being under this large spiky object, and the second one being under these 3 turbines. So let's break down how exactly both of these were accomplished, starting with the large spikes skip. Though dark red objects can typically never be touched by Red Ball without dying, this reality has been circumvented with a couple of key discoveries. By pausing and unpausing the game at any point, it was discovered that, with a high enough velocity, Red Ball would have a short immunity to spikes before dying. This would allow Red Ball to jump on the ground below the spikes, making some huge time saves possible in multiple levels, most notably level 10, where the rolling ball challenge can be completely skipped with a few well-timed jumps on the spikes. Unfortunately, this discovery was not useful in level 11, because the spiky ceiling that blocks Red Ball's movement at the beginning of the level cannot be entered and exited fast enough to prevent a death. Thankfully, another key discovery was made: ninja jumping. In level 9, there exists a, ninja that rolls back and forth on a bridge. New players, and even sometimes experienced ones, will fail to jump over this spinning ball of doom and die. However, there is a silver lining to this. People's ineptness at jumping over this ninja led to the accidental discovery that the ninja, under the right circumstances, could actually be jumped off of. Simply jump in just the right way so that you barely graze off of the ninja, and get another jump in before the game realizes that Red Ball touched the ninja in the first place. Note, this strategy is actually quite difficult. It's very inconsistent and is pretty useless anyways. However, we don't care about jumping on knockoff Fortnite Ninja. We care about jumping on the red stuff in level 11. So, knowing that red objects could be jumped on under the right circumstances, it would make sense that the large spikes could be jumped on as well. However, there was just one small problem. The large spikes aren't a circle. We aren't quite sure how the Rare Gang managed to skip the large spikes back in 2018, but it was probably with the help of a corner jump. Corner jumps are somewhat of a physics exploit that allows Red Ball to jump very high off an object while also maintaining most of his velocity. This exploit had already been put into use in level 4 to quickly get through this stair section, and it was also put into use in level 12 to skip over this box challenge before the discovery of Spike Glitch. If Red Ball grazed the corner of the large spikes in just the right way, he would be able to execute a corner jump there without dying. If enough speed was maintained, Red Ball would clear the spikes, and would be well on track to collect the flag at the end of the level as soon as possible, saving around a second overall. With how optimized Red Ball speedruns were getting at this point, a strategy that could save an entire second would be a pretty big deal. However, as Rare XZC put it, this strategy was insane, and far too inconsistent to have any hope of being done in runs. Thankfully, the second approach, skipping the turbines later in the level, seemed a lot more practical. With a well-timed jump on the ridge between these two carts, the turbines could be completely jumped over. However, this was still quite inconsistent. The jump would often not have enough momentum to clear the turbines. However, there's still a chance that Pseudo RNGesus would bless Red Ball with a ninja jump, allowing him to live. This was possible because, just like the ninja, the turbines are spinning circles. Another approach to the strategy was to go for a ninja jump on the first turbine right off the bat. If this was successful, Red Ball would always clear the turbines without the need for another jump. Because of the aforementioned bottleneck that the underground section imposes, this would save the exact same amount of time that the large spike skip would, around a second. According to XZC, Rare EG had this strategy in his back pocket, just in case it was needed to achieve a new world record. However, due to the strategy's great risk, and the availability of other time saves elsewhere in the game, it was never used in any of his runs. The Red Ball community had finally figured out a way to break Red Ball's pseudo auto-scroller, but the minimal time save that the turbine strategy provided prevented its usefulness from extending beyond the realm of individual level speedruns, where one is simply trying to get the fastest time in a single level of the game. In late 2019, individual level speedruns were finally established for every single Red Ball game over on Red Ball category extensions. Finally, runners had the chance to compete with each other for world records on each level. With this, the quest began to optimize each level in Red Ball to its absolute limits. In early 2020, Rare EG finally uploaded a video of him completing the level with the turbine skip strategy, ending with a time of 25.667, around half a second faster than the current record of 26.200 by Sutal, which didn't do the turbine skip. Rare EG collected the flag pretty soon after it appeared from the underground section, but it was clear that a faster grab was possible. Around a month later, speedrunner MotorJam figured out that by pushing against the train, it would cause all of the train carts to compress, putting them closer to the front of the train. The slightly shorter distance that the train now needed to travel before Red Ball could jump to the ground triangle allowed the level to be completed in less than 26 seconds without the use of the turbine skip. The turbine strat wouldn't benefit at all from this due to the bottleneck at the end of the level. Though it was believed that pushing against the train would allow it to move ever so slightly faster, saving a couple of frames, this has yet to be confirmed. Regardless, MotorJam used the train pushing strat and collected the flag faster than Rare EG did, ending with a time of 25.517. With interest in the level growing, people began to wonder if it was possible to collect the flag before it entered the underground section. If this could be pulled off, it would save over 7 seconds, allowing the level to be completed in under 20 seconds, something that had already been accomplished with most other levels in the game. Speedrunner DHA demonstrated that with an extremely fast turbine skip, Red Ball could make it to the cart before the cart with the flag. However, the ground above did not give enough clearance for Red Ball to jump into the next cart. Something new would have to be implemented to get Red Ball to the flag in time. Seemingly at a dead end, speedrunners went back to improving the individual level world record. A 60th of a second was shaved off by speedrunner LUMLPTM, who we just call Lum, and the record was swiftly taken back by MotorJam with a 30th of a second improvement. The turbine strategy was effectively maxed out, and there were no more improvements to be had. And on the same day that MotorJam set his individual level world record, Rare XCC would come out of the woodworks to share something with the community. On April 19th, 2020, Rare XZC reminded the community of the insane large spike skip strategy that had been conjured all the way back in 2018. Though his wording does make it seem like the large spike skip was only theoretical and had never been performed before. He tried to accomplish this by corner jumping off of one of the carts, but this was seemingly not enough to clear the spikes. A new lead was a new lead, and speedrunner Norzor decided to investigate.
Okay, so we are going to grind this.
So yeah, it turned out that Red Ball could cross the large spikes by just jumping on them. However, there was just one small problem. This jump was even more inconsistent than jumping off circular objects. And on top of this, Red Ball usually had to get these lucky jumps 2 or even 3 times to make it across. Red Ball also had to get enough distance to land on this platform afterwards. Jumping off the train was too slow. So, was combining the large spike skip and the turbine skip enough to get a sub-20 train? Armed with a save state hack, it was time for Norzor to find out.
Ooh, no! You can't be serious! Come on!
Just short. However, not all hope was lost. If Norzor was able to perform the large spikes skip sooner, it just might be enough. He got a good save point and started going for a good turbine skip. He got one. This had to be it. There simply wasn't any way to go faster. If he didn't collect the flag here, the strategy didn't have any hope left. But thankfully, that didn't happen.
It's over! It's over!
Norzor collected the flag before it went underground, proving once and for all that a sub-20 train was possible. Now someone just had to do it without any save states. Around this point in time, level 13, one of the bonus levels, was completed in 18.967 seconds by me, its maximum, beating Norzor's previous record of 20 seconds flat. Level 11 was now the only level in the entire game to have a world record of over 20 seconds. This reality is what gave the brand new strategy the name Sub-20 Train. Knowing the symbolic importance of successfully executing this strategy, Norzor, MotorJam, Yellow Skarmory, Lum, Mario, and I began grinding to allow level 11 to be the final entry into the Sub-20 Club. If the odds of getting both the large spike skip and the turbine skip in the same run weren't bad enough, as Norzor demonstrated before, the large spike skip also needed to be performed insanely fast for the runner to even have a chance. It turned out that the best approach to this was doing a corner jump on the front of the large spikes. Red Ball had to not die on the corner jump, a very rare occurrence. The corner jump had to be far enough to land Red Ball on the black platform without losing any speed, another rare occurrence, and sometimes that wasn't even enough to have a good chance at Sub-20 Train. It was determined that the best strategy for setting up the turbine jump was to jump as late as possible on the first black platform. Pray that your large spike skip was fast enough to get a good cycle on the red spinning bar. Land far back on the second black platform. Land on the ridge between these two carts. And then, after doing all of that perfectly, just hit the turbine jump. No pressure. While in a call with Norzor and MotorJam, who were both doing attempts at the time, the stars began to align. I missed the corner jump on the large spike skip, but I still lucked out with 2 fast jumps and a good landing. I timed everything perfectly. I was ready to do my turbine jump, but it was too short. However, I got an extremely lucky jump off the turbines. Maybe a bit too lucky. I had never gotten anything like it before. Normally when jumping off of the last turbine, the jump is very shallow, but this time it was a big jump. And at this point,
My 5-head brain.
needed to make a decision. Choice A, keep holding jump, land on the triangle, go forward, and collect the flag. Or choice B, slow down, land on the train, jump off the train, go forward, and don't collect the flag.
Oh my god.
Because obviously that's way too slow. Upset but undeterred, I kept doing attempts. Someone was gonna get it any day now, and I desperately wanted to be the first to get it.
And on the same day, over 2 hours of attempts later, this happened. It's over. It's over, dude. It's over, dude. No way, dude. It's over.
And that is the story of how Sub 20 Train became a reality. Its status as being the hardest proven to be possible strategy in the Red Ball series was garnered from community opinion. The community has been working to put together a list of the 20 hardest strategies in the Red Ball series, and Sub 20 Train sits atop that list, undisputed. To this day, the strategy has only been successfully performed by one person, but hopefully others like Norzor and Motorjam will be able to pull it off in the future.
Norzor managed to pull off Sub 20 Train while I was making this video. Nice.
And as for the possibility of this being used in full game speedruns one day,